welcome back to Talking with an Addict. My name is Kay. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Now, as you can tell by the title, today's video is going to be about the history of opiates and where they came from and how it got to be where it is today, because it's all good and well me speaking about them and the side effects and the addiction of them, but if you don't know where they come from and where it stemmed from, you're not going to understand. So we need to go right back to the beginning. So in this video I am just going to run through facts starting from the 1800s up until present day. Unfortunately, a lot of the information that I have gathered is in regards to America, because in Britain we are 15 years behind the opioid epidemic compared to America. So we don't know how to deal with it, we don't know how to handle it, we've never had to go through it before. We are trying to learn from overseas what to do with this, but like I said, unfortunately a lot of this information is based on American facts. I have found out some things about Britain and they will be at the end of this video. So first of all, opioids basically get their name from opium. Opium is found in the opium poppy plant, and that is where the drug is extracted from. It all comes down and from a plant, which is mind-blowing to be completely honest with you, but yeah, opium comes from the poppy plant. In 1803 a German scientist isolated morphine from the opium plant. Now this next one I thought it was really interesting. I love Greece and so does like Robbie, so we find like Greek history very interesting. But morphine is actually named after the Greek god Morpheus, and Morpheus was the god of dreams. Now, if you've ever taken morphine in your life, when you do get it into your system, you go into a dream-like state, you feel very floaty, everything feels very surreal. So I can definitely understand why it is named after the god of dreams. Morphine was distributed to soldiers in the Civil War era to help with pain obviously, and to help with PTSD, to try and get to sleep after the Civil War. But unfortunately what this led to is over 400,000 soldiers being dependent and addicted to morphine. In 1830 codeine was actually synthesised for medical use. It was basically made so it could be made in hospitals and doctor surgeries, and to think that this drug has been around for so long and people are only starting to do things about it now is mind-blowing. In 1874 a British chemist was the first person to isolate heroin from morphine, and basically what their initial idea was, it was to create a substance or a painkiller that was less addictive than morphine. Now clearly they didn't have the resources and the knowledge back then on how these drugs worked and the side effects of these drugs, but yeah, heroin was created to be a lesser addictive drug than morphine. And not long after that they soon discovered that heroin was 2 times more potent than morphine, and they realised they were in very deep water because they'd been dishing out this heroin to everybody and they were just stuck because people were now getting addicted to heroin as well. In the 1890s a German pharmaceutical company promoted the use of heroin. They actually said it was really good as a cough syrup, and over time they even started telling doctors to tell the parents of young children to use it as a cough medicine because it was really good for children. So these doctors weren't trying to be malicious and try to hurt anybody, they were just basically told that this was really good for them. Now one thing I did want to say though, and let me know if any of you have ever had this before. Now my mum used to give me Pulmo Bailey, I think that's how you pronounce it, I don't know if you get it in America, but it was a cough syrup and it had codeine in it, and it was actually available to buy off the shelf in like Morrison's and Tesco, your high street supermarkets, up until 2 years ago. And if we had the slightest cough, my mum would be like, oh, you need to drink this Pulmo Bailey, but it smelled so bad, and you'd only need a little swig of it and then you could just go straight to sleep because it had codeine in it. And I remember my mum had a really bad cough once, and I was saying to her, oh, just have some of your horrible cough medicine, and she said you can't get it anymore now, it's been taken off at shelves because it's got codeine in it and people are starting to drink it. And that's a whole new story on lean, but we'll get into that in another video. So because veterans and adults and children were told to take heroin and morphine for various different illnesses or things that were wrong with them, it soon became apparent in the early 1900s that there was an epidemic happening in America, and the rise of addiction was just skyrocketing through the roof. In 1924, the American Congress made it illegal to import, export, sell, make heroin at all. They basically said, no, that's it, we are washing our hands of it, it's causing too many problems. But on the other hand, morphine was still being made for hospitals, so they did say no to heroin but didn't say no to morphine. And obviously morphine is still as harmful, but they could only get rid of one at once. In 1937, a German scientist created methadone. Now the reason why it was created is because he was trying to make a painkiller less addictive than heroin, and it was for surgical uses only. But then when all that was made and created, it actually came out that methadone was actually more addictive than heroin. See, there's all these things that go on in the world, right? And speaking from like general knowledge, if somebody's addicted to heroin, you can go into a pharmacy in the UK, I don't know what it's like in America. You can go into a pharmacy in the UK, to your chemist, to your doctors, they have chemists in there, and you can find somebody stood there waiting for their methadone because they are in recovery from heroin addiction. Now I've seen what methadone looks like, and I think a lot of people have. Over here it's just like a little green solution, and they've basically got to go up to the counter, stand there, the chemist takes the name and the address and all the details, goes and measures the methadone out, gives them it, and it's literally like a tiny amount like that, and they have to stand there and drink it and then give them the tub back. They can't walk away with it, they have to stand in front of the chemist when they're having the methadone. And I think they do this, like, some people that are just coming off heroin do it like every day, and then it gets reduced to every other day. But for me, for a scientist that made this drug to be less addictive, it's basically just a substitute for heroin. So they're coming off of heroin, but they're giving them a substitute for heroin. Does anybody else agree with me on that? Oxycodone was produced in 1950, but from the 1960s, and apparently it's linked a lot to oxycodone, there has been a significant rise in prescription addiction drugs. In 1955, it is reported in Asia that 2,500 tonnes of opium is or was produced annually. And yes, I just had to read my notes because I didn't actually believe what that said. 2,500 tonnes of opium annually. Following on from this, there was a company that came onto the market called Purdue Pharma. Now I am going to do a video on that company alone, but they produced a 12-hour slow release drug called OxyContin. OxyContin was soon discovered to be an addict's paradise, basically. People who were taking the drug realised if they crushed it up, if they snorted it, if they took more than one at once, they'd get the high quicker, and that's what people started to do. But Purdue Pharma made this drug and they said, oh yeah, it's great, there's no addictiveness, like no addictive side effects, you can't get addicted from it, just take this tablet once every 12 hours. But if you're going to your chemist, you know that you don't just get one tablet prescribed for every day. You probably get like a box of 100 like you do over in the UK, and you just can take them like I did. And people in America started getting OxyContin and basically drug dealing with it because they knew that people were wanting and craving that high so much. And a lot of people that got addicted to OxyContin unfortunately ended up going on to heroin and getting addicted to heroin. The problem that was discovered in Britain and America in the mid-2000s was that a lot of teenagers, and I can relate to this myself, a lot of teenagers were going in medicine cupboards or medicine boxes or first aid kits, and they were finding codeine or co-codamol that an adult had in there, like your mum or dad had just have in there. If they had a headache, they could go to the supermarket and buy codeine over the counter, which I've spoke about 100 times. And teenagers were finding these painkillers and taking them and getting high from it. So they then started to take them more and more, and their tolerance started to build, and that led to more addictions. One thing that does absolutely break my heart is that it was reported in 2013, and unfortunately I can't get an up-to-date report from last year, and I'm hoping to God it is lower. But in 2013 approximately 30,000 babies were born with drug-related dependency. So their mothers were either addicted to codeine, morphine, heroin, some sort of opiate-based drug, and 30,000 babies had to be treated for that. And well, to be completely honest, between 2013 and now the rise of the opioid epidemic's gone up, so I can imagine that that's probably on par or even more every single year, because like I've said before, when you're an addict, unfortunately you don't care about anybody else, and that includes when you're pregnant. Obviously you just need your fix of that drug. But I'm hoping with everything I'm trying to do that we can get somewhere so these poor babies don't have to be born with dependency, or anybody has to have dependency to these awful drugs. So my last two facts are probably the saddest facts. In America alone, over 145 people die every single day due to opioid overdoses. And in September 2019 it was reported that over 50,000 Brits are addicted to opiate medication. Now let me know if I have missed anything out, or if you've got any facts, or if you want to let me know about anything, because I'm very interested about the history of opiates and where it's going and what direction it's going in, and I'm hoping that whatever I'm trying to do can make a little bit of an impact. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed finding out all this stuff and researching it and going into detail for it to tell you it. So please make sure to give me a like and subscribe. Make sure you turn on your little notification bell, and remember to tell yourself and your loved ones, if you are going through anything at this minute in time, it doesn't have to be addiction, that actually I can do this.